With no house announcements as of yet, today I will be going over my top 10 hype list based off of all of the speculated items that we have so far for this year's event. But we'll cover all that up next. Welcome back, everyone. It's Michael from Hollywood Thrills, back again with another video. And before we get into today's video, make sure you are subscribed to the channel so you can stay up to date with any HHN news, as well as soon Disney news. So make sure that you are subscribed, and don't forget to hit the bell notification icon to get notified whenever I post a video. With that being said, let's get into my top 10 most hyped speculation list based off of what we know so far. So starting off in the number 10 spot for me is Beetlejuice. I love Michael Keaton, but I'm not a huge fan of this movie. At this point, the house is seeming to be more and more like a Ghostbusters type house from last year, where it's more scenery. And for me, I wasn't a big fan of that that style of house, so not a big fan of that. Therefore, leads this house to be lower on my list at number 10. Now, moving on to number 9, I have Academy of Villains, whatever this one could be this year. Now, I saw their show last year for the first time, and I know that they have been at the event all 3 years that I had been there, but this is the first time that I finally got around to seeing them. Now, I was absolutely blown away last year at the production quality of the show, and as well as the storytelling and the music selection. I think I saw the show probably 3, maybe 4 times last year because I enjoyed it so much. But unfortunately, due to other very interesting rumors that we have going on this year, it's not as high as it deserves to be on my list. Sliding into my number 8 spot is Bedtime Stories, the Victorian-era Tooth Fairy house that has been rumored ever since last year's event. Now that one drops into the number 8 spot, like I said, and I'm very interested on how this house will turn out, and how it will be different enough where it does not get confused with Scary Tales, which is one of the main reasons why it's not higher on my list, as it seems like it's too much of a similarity between a already well-established original idea that they have already done before. Now we move on to number 7. Now this one was tough, seeing as I don't know much about the show or the movie, so I'm gonna put the rumored Creepshow Scare Zone at number 7. Now, I've done walkthroughs of the house that was in Hollywood last year, and I absolutely loved the scares of that house and just everything about that house. It was really well done, very well detailed, and I'm so excited to see if the Orlando team can do something very similar to that. Next, dropping into the number 6 spot, just barely beating out Creepshow, is going to be a show that I just started watching, and that is the Netflix show The Haunting of Hill House. Now, this show, only being a few episodes in since I just started watching it, can definitely give a few good scares, and they definitely could go way overboard with this house and have it just be the best house of the event. And I really hope they do this house justice like it deserves, and I just really am excited to see this house if it decides to come to the event. The number 5 spot is going to be held by Mannequin Theater. This was a new addition to the speculation map, and honestly, it jumped up on my hype list really quick when people started to compare it to the Dollhouse of the Damned and Seeds of Extinction, which are both similar in their concepts, with it being like camoed scare actors. So I'm really interested to see how this one could play out. Now moving on to number 4, I have Universal Monsters, The Brides. I loved Universal Monsters last year, as it was in my top 2 houses last year, and I got to see, and as I see that they are could possibly be returning this year, it immediately piqued my interest with last year that we had already seen how they can do this type of house. So I'm super excited to see them return if it does happen. Now next up is number 3, and in this spot I have the 30th anniversary house. I really wish I could put this higher on my list, but with this year's being such a great rumored lineup, it was really hard for me to put this any higher on my list. I'm excited to hopefully see all the old houses from the past years throughout this house, and hopefully parts of houses that I had never gotten to go through. Now we move on to number 2. Now, the decision between number 1 and number 2 was very difficult, and I have love for both of these ideas, but number 2 is going to be Horror Nights Icons. This house is going to be amazing, and if it happens, just getting to see all of the icons together wreaking havoc is going to be amazing and terrifying, and hopefully each icon from the past gets a shout out in this house, including the Crypt Keeper, and as well as even Bloody Mary. I hope everyone gets a shout out in this house. Now, before we get on to number 1, 2 houses that I did not include in this list were Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Billie Eilish. Now, I have a reasoning for them not being on there. Texas Chainsaw is rumored to be based off the 2013 3D film, and I'm not a big fan of that film, therefore I left it off this list. And also, the reason I left Billie Eilish off this list is that her house right now to me is a very close 11th place. Now, it could possibly climb up the list with the more information we get on it if it does get announced, and it could jump up super fast as soon as everyone knows how it actually is going to fit in a house. But it's just all up in the air right now on the concept of this house, so I can't really make an opinion on it. Now, let's move on to number 1. Now, number 1, if you have not guessed it already for me, is the Pumpkin King original that is rumored to be coming to this year's event. And now this is hype for me for 2 reasons. Reason number 1 being that it is rumored that this house will have our first icon since Lady Luck in 2011, not counting Chance, who we already know existed before her official takeover in 2016. So the idea of a new icon definitely has me a little hyped. And the second reasoning being that this house has already been compared to Scarecrow, which some people name as one of the scariest houses of all time. So that's, as you can see, that's why this one is on the top of my hype list for this year. So with that, we have finished up my top 10 most hyped list based off of the rumors for this year's event. And hopefully I can do this again once they officially have announcements for all the houses and scare zones. But until then, as always, I'm Michael, and this has been Hallowed Thrills, and I'll see you guys next time.